But now that we learn that S Hawk does have this devil fruit, right? And he pretty much has the dice devil fruit. How dangerous does this make S Hawk? Because how I look at it is we got like the clone of the world's strongest swordsman, who is pretty much a sword, kind of a callback to that theory that is going around with Mihawk being a sword and everything. But S Hawk is actually a sword this time. So how dangerous is it? Like how dangerous do y'all see his potential now that we learn his devil fruit? BR, you want to start this one off?
I mean, I'd say more dangerous than Mihawk. Well, we know that the Seraphim what we created, I mean, was supposed to replace the warlords.
Mm-hmm.
So that would imply that they were like the strength of the warlords or stronger if they were able to replace them. But with the dice flute, it would make Ashar either equal or stronger than
Equal or
the
stronger
normal
than.
Mihawk.
I think that's fair. I mean, we talking about a guy who's like a copy, pretty much a clone of Mihawk. So he has the potential to be as strong as Mihawk. But then you add on the Lunarian DNA, you
Yeah.
add the Devil Fruit. You know, will he be better than Mihawk, Sage? Do you believe, or is he
No,
better now? I don't think he's better now, but
no. The thing about Mihawk is he's trained the swordsmanship aspect to like the pinnacle of the world.
so you think,
Um, so obviously the Seraphim has the power, like the potential rather, to become stronger because it's the same person but with like altered genetics to be genetically stronger.
yeah,
But at this current stage and in the story, I don't see him ever becoming stronger than Mihawk. And it would make no sense either because that would mean that Zoro is going to potentially fight a Mihawk clone that's stronger than Mihawk before he fights Mihawk. Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
yeah. I I mean, maybe like I guess I translated it was something that was said a few chapters ago about how they're. I think it was when Jinbei the S Shark was introduced and he was fighting the Straw Hats. I want to say Pythagoras or Edison said something about like the DNA element pretty much replicating experience for the Seraphim. So I had to look where it said that at just to get just to say it correctly, right? Just because right now I'm just paraphrasing, but it made me think that maybe the Seraphim could pretty much get the same experiences as their Shichibukai counterparts without actually experiencing it. You know what I'm saying? So it would almost be like S Hawk is cheating. Like he pretty much has all of Mihawk's experience and knowledge within fighting without actually having to gain the experience through fighting. So
From what
that
I understand, like, because you're talking about the bloodline element stuff, like, um, it's like they've got the experience, but they've not got like, if you will, the hacky bloom to go with it. So like, they
Yeah.
don't have the actual muscle memory. They don't have the actual strength. They just have some of the experience. Like, because otherwise, you're saying that Mihawk clone is as strong as Mihawk right now because they have the same experiences, but like they don't. They just have like either like blood memory or something Oda's doing with that, or like they have some kind of like cognition element to it. But like it to me, it reads across as being more of a they're a clone of that person, but not of their memories. They're not like a perfect like duplicate. They're a clone in a verse where blood carries a level of memory, but not enough of a memory to actually duplicate.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I guess they might have the strength, but they don't have the experience, is what you're saying.
Well, they don't have the strength of these people because they don't have the true experience. because otherwise they'd have loads of haki and stuff like that that they clearly don't have.
Yeah.
I think
I mean,
from what I
would
get
you
what
say
you're
the
from what I get what you're saying, Sage, like the muscles don't like their muscle and their body don't have the same experience as well. So the muscle can't, I guess, copy to the same level as Mihawk. Is that kind of what you're saying? Like their muscle memory and everything can't duplicate it to the level of Mihawk because it doesn't
Yeah,
have the experience itself.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, they're not a duplicate; they're a clone. So, like, although there's a One Piece fantasy element that says that they carry a level of experience in their bloodline, like, they don't actually have the true copy. Because, like I said, like, just from what we've seen, like, Mihawk is a lot stronger, Boa is a lot stronger, like, Kuma is possibly around a similar level, but it's hard to tell because we've only seen him like wash people. Like, we haven't really seen him struggle. So like not in terms of like an actual fight anyway.
Okay. I get where you're going. I get where you're going. But you also have to count that like S Hawk is just a kid as well. You know, he's just a kid and he's doing, you know, he had like Blackbeard sweating a little bit. I don't think Blackbeard would have lost in like a real fight against S Hawk. But he had Blackbeard a little worried. And this is like probably the weakest we'll see S Hawk. You know, like next time, like later in the story when the Seraphim come back in, maybe, you know, they age a lot quicker. Maybe
If
he'll
you
be
don't,
much older. Go ahead, Ragnar.
I was wondering if you don't mind me going
Nah,
on
go
about
ahead. Go
it.
ahead.
Personally, I think when it comes to physicality, they would be stronger. Um, and I think they have whenever Vegapunk finished collecting the data for the warlords, they would have all the skills and techniques they have up to that point. And I look at it in a similar sense to like Cell, right? Where Cell had the collective techniques of this person and that person and that person, but he also had superior strength, he had superior physicality, and he had superior, the quote unquote, DNA,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But what he was actually lacking was real battle experience, right? Which, when you see the Vegapunks, they sent Jinbei out to fight for the first time, they were testing his battle prowess against people who have fighting experience to see how well they would fare against people outside of the range of the scope of their like usual combat level. Because you don't get a chance to fight a Yonko every day, in other words, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I see it in that sense. When Goku was fighting Cell, it's not that Cell was superior to him in actual techniques. He was superior to him in strength, in speed, in power, in regen. And if you look at the Seraphim, they're not one-to-ones with the Warlord. They are the amalgamation of the most superior species, quote unquote, in the One Piece verse, right? And
Yeah.
if you think about it, imagine if you had a big mom as a child, but she also had the devil fruit back then, and she also had the techniques she had right now back then. That's the idea. That's what the Seraphim are, in my opinion. They're if Mihawk was younger but stronger and also had the fruit that is most suitable for him as a swordsman. It doesn't mean that he's better than Mihawk in swordsmanship per se. It just means he has everything needed to make him the guaranteed best version of Mihawk that he actually can be. So it's
yeah,
not
I
about
agree.
them, yeah, it's not about them being stronger right now. It's about them being stronger eventually. So if you look at the Cell Juniors as well, the Cell Juniors are actually confirmed to have a higher power level than like Imperfect Cell or Subperfect Cell, right? But it's not about them being weaker than the cell that was there. If you given them time to grow up, get stronger, get the Zenkai boost like Cell got, they eventually might have even surpassed Cell himself. And I think that was the idea of the Seraphim here.
Well,
Because
that's if
even the
you kept
clones for
Cell at
Germa,
that
they're not
same level,
equal.
though. I'll say that's if you
Yes,
kept Cell at the same level. You stunted his growth and let the Cell Juniors grow.
grow, yeah. But
Yeah.
I think it's like how do I explain it? Like if you were a black belt in karate, right? It's not just about because eventually you don't keep learning techniques after your black belt. When you get to a black belt, you've learned all the techniques, right? But
Hmm.
at that point, it's not about knowing all the techniques. It's how, when, and why you utilize those techniques. That's the difference between masters and like people who have mastered the craft, right?
Hmm.
So you can be a master of swordsmanship, but you haven't like mastered the craft of swordsmanship. You are not the pinnacle of swordsmanship. I think what the Seraphim represent is the shortcut to the pinnacle. You have a far easier time being one with your blade when you are a blade, right? You have a far easier time in battle when you're genetically modified to be the most suited for battle. And because compared to somebody who had to train to get themselves to at least the minimum requirement. So I think that's where the Seraphim and the Warlord separate. It's just
Yeah.
what they're built for and what somebody trained for.
Yeah, and I'd agree with Ragnar because, like, without the Lunarian DNA and the added the added fighting prowess that a devil fruit ability gives you, I would say like if you just clone Mihawk and you just had S Hawk in like a vacuum without the Lunarian, I would say it could be a situation where he's like maybe a a percentage of Mihawk's overall ability. Like maybe his potential is up to like 90%. So if they were to fight, he will only be at like 90 or 80% of Mihawk's overall battle prowess because he's not like the pure Mihawk. But with the addition of the Lunarian DNA, I think that adds a lot. I think that definitely adds a lot. It's gonna make him a lot like just physically. If you take his physical attributes, he'll probably be like when he reaches his potential, he'll be stronger than Mihawk, faster than Mihawk. Like just all his base stats would be probably superior to Mihawk with that added Lunarian DNA. And then you give
I
him this
agree
devil fruit.
completely.
Then you give him this devil fruit, which makes him a sword. So he
Yep.
is a swordsman. Yes, he's a clone of a swordsman, but he's a swordsman as well. That's also added battle. Uh, that's also something that's going on in his favor that Mihawk doesn't have right there.
Exactly.
So if you just take him, like you take away the Lunarian and you take away the devil fruit, I would agree with you guys that he wouldn't be stronger than Mihawk, but I just think the Lunarian stuff does actually matter. Angel,
I think they're weaker right now because of
not right. I don't
what
mean right now. I mean like, could Mihawk surpass me, or could S Hawk surpass Mihawk? I don't think he's stronger than Mihawk at the moment either. I mean, we've seen how the clash with Zoro happened, so
I think he will.
I don't know,
I
AJ.
think the perfect analogy for Seraphims, and it's not just Mihawk, it's Boa as well. It's Jinbei. Like Jinbei, the idea of like, if you think about it, the idea of giving Jinbei the swim fruit is absolutely so beyond what anybody ever thought of. Like, I can't believe nobody ever thought of this because I've never heard of it. Maybe somebody else did, but I've never heard of it. Right? We've always heard of like even fishmen, a random fisherman, yeah, giving a random fisherman the swim fruit. But if Jinbei
Yeah,
had the swim fruit, it puts it on a completely different scale. Like, think about if the Jinbei that fought Ace back then had the swim fruit. You see what I'm saying? It's not the same battle because he's not worrying about his limited supply of water like he used to. Now he's turning in the environment under Ace's feet into the ocean that he doesn't have next to it. It's a completely different setting, right?
yeah,
And I think that's exactly what the Seraphim represent. If these warlords had everything stacked in their favor, and I mean everything, the perfect fruit, the perfect genetics, everything. And that's what they are. It's not that they're better. It's more like a Goku and Gohan. Gohan always had more potential, but he needed to experience the things and catch up to the techniques that Goku had, right?
yeah,
But what the Seraphim lack is literally just that. They need to catch up to the experience and the power that they already have. And once they catch up, there is no equals anymore. If the Seraphim have equal battle prowess and equal, when I say battle prowess, I mean like strength and skills and everything, they
Mhm.
beat the versions of themselves that are the originals in a sense, right? Because they have everything they need to surpass the originals. They just have to get to that point first.
Yeah, you said something that made me it made me remember something that I thought about not earlier, but I thought about before. But something that I don't really hear nobody talking about. Like we know that Vegapunk could clone devil fruits. You know, so and I want to speak, and I'm speaking of Jinbei or S Shark in this sense. We know that Vegapunk can recreate devil fruits, and S Shark has a swim fruit. He has a devil fruit, but one thing about S Shark is he's also a fisherman, or he's a clone of a fisherman, so he's a fisherman as well. So it kind of takes away his actual ability to swim in actual, like, real water. But I always thought about this: if Vegapunk was able to clone devil fruits and like recreate them, could he modify them to where they don't have that weakness?
The drawback of the ocean, yeah.
Yes, because they're not
I can hear
real.
everybody else,
They're
right?
not real devil fruits. So I don't know if they would fully act as devil fruit as far as having that weakness, you know. And if S Shark doesn't have that weakness to be able to swim in real water, and he's able to swim in both earth and in water, that would kind of make him the superior Jinbei, because Jinbei will only be able to swim in like water, where S Shark could swim in both. But if S Shark can't swim in water, then it kind of like their abilities would cancel out depending on where they fight. Like if Jinbei had water around him, he'll be at an advantage. If it's just like solely on land, then S Shark has that advantage. But yeah, anybody got anything to add? BR?
Yeah, I'm gonna rephrase what I said earlier. Okay, I think as Hawk is equal or greater than Mihawk in strength, speed, and the base stats, except for like hockey and um and and experience. So I think they lack at that. And I think that's what will make them maybe a little bit lower than their warlord clone is. Most of them, not all of them, though.
Based on what Pythagoras said, it almost sounds like when it comes to the experience factor, that the bloodline element kind of like shortcuts that. You know, it's almost giving the Seraphim experience without them actually having to experience the stuff. You know, like if like Mihawk knows how to do certain moves, or S-Hawk, if he knows how to do certain techniques in certain situations because of the bloodline element, almost, because it's like he said something about like the bloodline element records the experiences of the originals. Like he said something along that line. I just want to get what he said, so I know like how to go about this argument.
Yeah, I just like, they have the potential, obviously, to outgrow the people they're cloned from, but right now I just don't think they're there. And I'm not sure if they'll get there within the story. And if they do, it won't be like the more important kind of to the Straw Hat ones, like Mihawk, where like they need to have a level of like plot elsewhere. Boa probably counts into that as well. Like she's needed elsewhere in the plot, so I don't see S Snake surpassing her. But I think the thing with the Seraphim is like it opens up a potential of like in the final war them being something there, but like my issue with them is like how they're controlled, and like the fact that Vegapunk's been betrayed and that he wants to leave the island. Like all of that makes it really suspicious to me, like when it comes to the Seraphim. The other thing is like Judge's super soldiers, the brothers, they're all kind of like claim to be like these really powerful super soldiers, like, meant to be like superior to humans or whatever. But obviously they really aren't superior to the vast majority of like the top tiers. So like I just take that kind of dialogue with a pinch of salt.
I, that's an interesting. It's interesting you brought up like the Vent Smokes, because they kind of seem like they might have been like the original Seraphim, honestly. Like maybe Vegapunk got in. I know I'm about to set Ragnar off. I know I'm about Vegapunk probably took Judge's idea to like he probably was influenced when it comes to creating the Seraphim based on like the Vinsmoke brothers and everything. I know how Ragnar feels about Vegapunk, so I figured I was feeding him something. But was you finished, Age? I know I kind of interrupted.
No, you're good.
All right, anybody got anything else about S-Hawk or the Seraphim in general?
I will also say that I think the green blood that they use to get the powers should work similar to how the smile gas works, but it's
Yeah.
just in liquid form. So I don't know if anybody has ever confirmed that the smile fruit users can swim as well, but it should be a high likelihood that if they can swim, that's why Vegapunk gave them wings. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
So they can fly over the ocean instead of swimming.
Yeah, that is true. But just imagine if they could still swim, that would make them that would truly make them the strongest beings. If they all had devil fruit abilities and they could swim. Bro, come on now.